I would like to call the Water Pollution Control Authority special meeting to order for Wednesday, June 26th, 2024. This is a 6 o'clock public hearing for the 24-25 sewer service fees and rates. Can we have roll call, please?
Councilor Sakala.
Here.
Commissioner Sakala. Commissioner Casati.
Here.
Commissioner Finger.
Here.
Commissioner Hendrickson.
Here.
Commissioner Ludwig.
Here.
Commissioner Mangini is absent. Commissioner Nasuda.
Here.
Chair Nelson.
Here.
Vice Chair Pisner.
Here.
Commissioner Santinella is absent, and Commissioner Ungary is absent. 8 members are in attendance. 3 are absent.
Thank you. Commissioner Mangini has apologized, but she had made plans months and months before we scheduled this meeting and just wanted to let everybody know she apologizes she couldn't be here tonight. So we're going to start off with a brief presentation from John Wilcox, and then we will go into the public hearing. Welcome, John.
I will be doing the brief. He will be the
John, we'd prefer if you did it.
well, he's the wheel man. I'm the driver. He's the getaway driver.
That was a nice segue, by the way. That was a nice segue.
All right, this is, so folks at home know, we adopt the budget. We adopted it a couple weeks ago. And once the budget is adopted, by then July 1st, you always come back and we set the rate for water pollution control. Just by way of history, years previous, the water pollution control budget was part of the town budget, the salaries, the individuals, and it was commingled. So our residents got one tax bill. A number of years ago, as you know, we were under basically contempt orders from the DEP for being in violation with water pollution control. They brought the full weight of their authority. We went out and we obviously went to referendum. We did what they said. The Water Pollution Control Center was basically, updated and rebuilt to be in compliance. But at the same time, they said, once you do this, you can no longer commingle water pollution control with the town budget. You got to break it out. John has an email from DEEP saying, absolutely not, you've got to do it this way. So council knew that it was going to be an upset to residents. It's a different format. And now you get 2 bills, and now you go, oh my goodness, I'm paying that for a sewer usage fee, where before it was much like, I have a side, and we did it in the budget. It's like police, EMS, schools. It's ad valorem. What we basically do to run a town, we don't do it on a user basis, because if you were going to just charge people for using the police, we wouldn't generate enough revenue to pay for it, because a lot of people don't use them. EMS, the same thing. If we had to say, you don't have to pay for EMS under your bill, and there's a last chart here, I will have John put it up, but we can't do that, much like water pollution control. So you may use less, but we still have operating costs, and we still have capital improvements that we have to make. So even though you're not using as much as your neighbor, the cost of running the water pollution control plant is the same. So if you look up here, this is what I proposed in the budget. On the right, you can see last year's. We already went through what the increases were, but this was what we adopted for water pollution control for FY 2025. Personnel cost $1.9 million. Other operating, utility chemicals, the cost of running the plant, 3.1. Capital, and that's the money, we listed it just like the CIP for the town, for pump stations and mains. That's 2.85 for next year. Debt service, that's on the Clean Water Fund and what we pay to borrow the money. That's $2 million. So the total we have to expend for water pollution control next year is 9.9. How do we pay for it? Next slide. If you look on the right, the fees that paid for that are on the right. And basically, we don't come up with the full 9.9 million. It's about 8.3. That difference is made up some by general funds, and the rest is by hookups, late fees, liens, and whatnot. That makes up about the $1.3 million. But basically, the lion's share is paid for by 2 ways. Base rate, if you look at the right, $39 quarterly, so about a little under $160 a year per residential household. You look for volumetric. We charge anybody using it, whether you're a business or a resident. It's $3.60 per 1,000 gallons, up to 20,000 gallons, and then you drop below, the rate would increase, and mostly for commercial or larger users, the rate goes up to $5.39 a gallon. What we proposed in the budget for your consideration is on the left. Town manager recommended budget to pay for the operating costs as I enumerated. So we suggested, and this has all been consistent with Woodard and Curran, who are our initial consultants. Now, by way of background, again, what you should know, the first 5 years, they recommended small increases. Council didn't increase the fees at all. So we were obviously in a tight jam. We had money to pay back to the general fund. We have our costs that were recurring, but because it was such a shock initially to the residents, they implemented that. At a later time, we also implemented for certain users a 7.2% reduction in the summer because you're watering your lawn and doing pools. We gave that carve out less revenue. We also, what we've been doing by custom, and I think it's important to note because I think that's going to change this evening, if, for instance, and you talk about equity and what's fair across the board, if you live in an apartment or you live in a multifamily where there's 1 meter, for instance, you might have 200 units at an apartment complex. There's 1 meter. They pay about $160 a year. If you live in a house, you're paying $160. 200 people are paying $160. If you live in a 4-house home or a 6 or an 8 unit, 1 meter, they don't pay per family like a private residence. They all pay 1 fee of $160 a year. Beyond that, from custom, and I've talked to John, while other things have been done by resolution, custom was in a 4-family house, okay, we already know they're getting a break. They're paying 1 quarterly charge of $160 a year by 4 families. But also, that 1 meter, when it goes over 20,000 gallons, they should be charged at $539, right? They're being charged at $360 because in our generosity we said, well, there's 4 families, each one isn't going over it, so we'll just say, well, that's got to stop. That's up for the landlord and the tenants to make a determination. Put 4 meters on the house if you don't want that. You talk to your residents. If you have a family of 6 in 1 apartment and 1 person in 1, you make the deal with them what the deal will be for water. You shouldn't pay it, and all of the residents. That's disproportionate. So that we can change tonight just by issuing the edict, and John's going to understand those waivers won't occur. All right. So we had suggested 460 and 689. Woodward and Curran has made that recommendation. Last year they made the recommendation. Council, they didn't implement it. They kept the rates the same. So we were $800,000 short in revenues. John had to go back and reduce it. So this year, here we are. This is the nub of it. We've heard the discussion about reducing and getting away with the base rate. You know, it isn't fair. Let's base it more on user. What you use, you pay more. That sounds good. But if you look at these rates, I told you we need to raise 9.9. 1.3 comes from the general fund and fees and hookups. But the rest of it comes from here. About $3 million from the yearly, the base rate, and about maybe $4.5 million, or maybe up to $6 million, John said, for volumetric. So if we do away with the quarterly, we have a hole of $3 million. How do we make up for it? All right? John? Nope. So on the right is what the current rates are, $360 and $539. Told you what we were recommending if we kept the quarterly. If you eliminate the quarterly, John is recommending these numbers, which are really just an outright, very simple math, they're doubled. Now at home, then I'd say my bill's going to double. Mr. Young, no. We're going to show you what that will mean to the users, okay? So people, when they look at the bill, I don't really think they care what the quarterly is. They don't, what's the bottom line? Last year I paid $250, what am I paying this year? So if you, now I wasn't recommending getting rid of the quarterly, but I'm not opposed to it, John isn't either. And if you do these rates, because we have to fill that $3 million deficit, and we have to do it equitably. Next slide. All right. Look at the top. Usage, 12,000. Our average user in town uses 12,000 gallons. Currently, if you look at the numbers at the 360 and 539, we highlighted in yellow, so a current household is paying about $328 a year. If you eliminate the quarterly and you increase the rates by what John said, they will go from $328 to $345. So the average user, they shouldn't freak out and say you double the, no. The increase is $16.80. Now we go to the next one. If you look to the left, usage 20,000 gallons, bigger family, house, few kids, pool. All right, currently under the rates, they're paying $444. They eliminate, remember now, eliminate the quarterly, it'll go to 576, so their total bill, they will see an increase of 132. For the year. And the bottom one is bigger. These would be commercial or maybe that four-family, over 25,000 gallons a year. Currently 551. It would increase to 791, so an increase of 239. Now, is there some risk to this? We're trying to balance. We need 9.9 million. I'm good on the 1.3, but we need to come up with that 8.8. John's comfortable that, given the vagrancies. Now, remember, people may say, well, it is going up a little. I don't want it to go up 132. You're taking one shower a day, Gina says to her children, not 3. To somebody else, I know some people like to take them. No, we're going to conserve. Well, if the residents do that, and that's a good thing, usage obviously will go down, but so will our revenue. So we're going to monitor it very closely if you decide to do it on a quarterly basis to say, you know, folks, people cut by 20%. We do it, we can look at it. We're not going to wait till, the iceberg is in front of us. We'll do it. Now, what we can do then equitably is look as we progress, perhaps in general governance, we will look as we get closer to the end of the year. Maybe we're going to be flush. Maybe this is enough with stopping that unwritten resolution about waiving it if it's over 20,000 for that's going to generate money now that people over the 20,000, everyone's going to pay the increased rate. We're not going to give a waiver. If we see that it's not quite enough or enough to put aside for our capital improvement next year you could consider, and we'll look. Most towns, or a lot of towns, they have the quarterly. They want that consistent floor. They don't want to be left open to unpredictability. But one town, what they do, it's lowered. They have so much, for this amount of gallons, then they go up. But they charge every single unit, whether you're an apartment or you're in a multifamily or a house, they all pay a quarterly. So maybe it doesn't have to be 40 a month when we look. Maybe it doesn't have to be anything. But if we do look at it next year, John's going to know how many multi-unit houses haven't been paying, how many apartments haven't been paying, and how much would that generate. And we could do it across the board, and that would be equitable to give relief to residents. Everybody would be paying the quarterly. Where right now, many, many, many residents are not paying it. And the people who own a home with children, they are. So I think at this juncture, that's what we were asked to look at. I'm comfortable. You can ask John questions. We can hear from the public first. And then when it comes up on the agenda, you can ask questions. But those are the numbers.
Okay, at this point, I think we should open it up to the public. Let's hear what the public has to say, and then we can try to answer their questions along with our questions at the same time. Would anyone like to come up and speak?
No one in the audience.
Going for the second time? Mr. Young, come on up.
I'm not even going to use the timer.
There is no timer on a public hearing, I don't think.
Good evening, Council. George Young, 8 Holly Lane. The first thing I'd like to say, for once, I agree with the mayor, or Commissioner Nelson, that he's concerned about how confusing this schedule is for the average public.
One sec. Do I need to open the public hearing, or did I do that when I opened the meeting?
You did do that.
Yes, that's what I thought. Thank you.
I don't believe you read the rules, though.
Well,
We'll hold up.
Yeah, George.
I'll listen to the rules. Just don't start my clock.
Your time, though, Mr. Young. It's going against your time.
Yeah, I know that.
I'll take my time then.
No time.
I'll make
I'm
a
sorry.
motion to waive the reading of the rules.
If you're okay with it, George.
I'm okay.
All right. Continue.
Thank you. Anyway, and I do agree with the Commissioner Nelson that it is very confusing. There was a time when we had something called Ready to Serve, and it cost $21 a quarter. I don't know if you remember the name, Ready to Serve. It's now $39 a quarter. I don't really have a problem with that because in the years past, I have advocated that you should have been raising the rates of the water pollution control. I'm one of the few that probably did. I know that last year the Democrats didn't agree with that, and they voted the raise down, but that's another story. But this year, this is really confusing. In fact, I'd like to point out that if you look at attachment A, page 1 of 2, you can only have 2 rates, and you have a third rate on there because I think you just probably copied it from the prior year. It says $6.27 per 1,000 under significant users. Okay, different title, but it should be the same rate as the over 20,000. if you want to take a minute to look at it. So I think that probably needs to be corrected and updated, because nobody can understand that one. I think significant users is 20,000 and over. As far as the $1.3 million that has been mentioned, I personally would like to see part of that money, the $300,000, being absorbed by the town instead of just billing the water pollution control for the services of the town attorney, the town manager, and various other people as administrative costs. And the other, that's about $393,000, and the other 20-some-odd thousand for the IT. Why not just keep it in the town and lift the burden from the water pollution control? You're going to give them $1.3 million anyway. Why not just make it $1 million or something close to that or under it? So that would be one of my suggestions there. We used to pay we now pay $156 a year for that quarterly fee. It used to be a lot lower than that, which was like $121 or something like that. It was $84, $21 a quarter. And that's pretty much it. I do agree that we should be increasing it because I hate to flush my toilet and it doesn't make it. We've mentioned this before. And that's pretty much it. I don't have any other changes to whether it's a fixed fee or it comes out here. You still have to raise the $9 million. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, George. Anyone else? For the first time? For the second time? George, you sure you don't want to come back up?
I'm all set.
The stage is all yours.
Thank you. I decline.
Okay. Seeing no one else is here to speak, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? It's unanimous. So I would think, to address George's comment about us charging the WPC the $300,000, it's for accounting, to show what our true cost is to WPC. Unlike, you've sat through many meetings where the Board of Ed says our budget's only $75 million, when we all know their budget's closer to $100 million with what the town contributes towards it. And by doing it this way, you know exactly what the WPC budget is. And I think that was one of the main reasons that we separated it, was for the federal grants and everything else, so they have a true cost of what we spend in Enfield for it.
Estimated cost, 4 years in a row.
What was that?
It's an estimated cost 4 years in a row. It's got to be resolved what it is.
Right. You want more of an exact number.
Right.
Okay. And then I would ask the town manager or John about his comment on the second to the last page about that 627 per 1,000 gallons and billed quarterly. Is he correct?
I'm sorry, can I ask a point of order, please?
Sure.
Are we having this discussion under the public hearing, or do we need to
We
close the
closed the
public?
we did.
If you close the public hearing, I think you still need to now go back and do a roll call, and then we need to do the meeting minutes and then have a discussion, right? I think we can have this conversation under the public meeting.
Commissioner
but-
Sakala is correct, yeah.
But you did close it, just so you know.
Okay.
I think if we had this discussion prior to closing the public hearing, it would have been fine, but once you close the public hearing, we now have to go into the regular WPCA meeting all over again.
Right, which is all the same meeting on the agenda that we were given. It's
It-
the same, and normally it is separate. I agree with you, but this doesn't show.
I know, because I don't think you got the public hearing thing that you're supposed to read for the public hearing. I think that's what is, right, I think it says June of 2023, which is what's the confusing part. You can do whatever you want, but I think that
How do you want us to proceed, Sheila?
Usually at this stage, we would do another roll call and then go through the agenda, meaning we would accept those 2 minutes that are outstanding and then have discussion regarding the sewer rates.
Okay. So we've closed the public hearing. So at this time, I'd like to call to order the Water Pollution Control Authority special meeting for Wednesday, June 26th at 6 PM in the council chambers. Can we have roll call, please?
Commissioner Sakala.
Here.
Commissioner Crisati.
Here.
Commissioner Finger.
Here.
Commissioner Hendrickson.
Here.
Commissioner Ludwig.
Here.
Commissioner Mangini is absent. Commissioner Nasuda.
Here.
Chair Nelson.
Here.
Vice Chair Pisner. Here. Commissioner Santinella is absent, and Commissioner Ungary is absent. That's 8 members present, 3 absent.
Thank you. And I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes of June 19th, 2023.
So moved.
Motion's made and seconded. Are there any comments, corrections, or concerns? Seeing none. All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? 1, 2, 3 abstentions. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Not enough to pass. All right, so we're going to have to move the minutes. I'll entertain a motion to table the minutes till the next meeting.
Motion.
When we have enough. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Yeah, the minutes. Yeah. Okay, we'll move them to the next WPC meeting when we have enough. Now we're moving on to discussion and resolution adopting the 24-25 sewer service fee and rates. Continue. John.
That fee was actually only for users that have sewer meters themselves on it. I don't believe we have, I don't even know how many we have, not significant number of them. So it's really a different rate.
So those are people who are on a well but are on city sewer because they don't have a water meter to monitor.
People on a well are charged the private well rate. That's based on the average user amount. That's the 12,780 gallons per quarter. That was developed by Woodard and Curran. Their analysis of what the average water user in the town used. So that's where that 12,780 came from, and their billed. So if a well user doesn't have a meter, obviously they are billed right now the $39 quarterly charge plus a usage rate based on 12,000 gallons per quarter.
Okay. And then, so.
It's their business, and then they're 90,000.
So can you explain why somebody would have a meter on their sewer line and not be running off their water meter?
I think that if they have significant usage, they would be charged based on the actual usage of what goes into the sewer lines rather than what their water usage is.
So if it's a company that uses a lot of water in their production but doesn't go down the sewer line, they would put in a separate sewer meter,
They could, yes.
right, to monitor what goes out of the building.
Yes.
Okay. Questions? Go ahead, Mike.
I just want to thank you guys for the presentation. Again, this is very helpful for the public, and I think this is great. I mean, I appreciate you taking a little extra time explaining the differences, which has made it easier on me, just personally, but even the public. So I thank you both, because I think it's very helpful when we give this kind of detailed information. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
So I'm just going to say that WPC is its own separate entity. I understand where Mr. Young's coming from, but I do agree that it needs to be broke out. Maybe we get a little more accurate with it. I know it's very hard to do because the people are on staff anyways. But, you know, CIP took a serious hit this year, which shouldn't affect WPC, but it does. And that's where the town manager was saying, you know, commingling the monies, even though we're separate entities, we were going to give them a $5 million gift or loan this year to help them catch up with the pump stations. You know, WPC should be a separate entity just like the fire departments. I don't believe in flat fees because there's no way to save. You're taking the money from somebody and they have no way to get around it. And by going 100% user fee, you can save. you can limit the water that you use. So I fully support going to 100% user fee, getting rid of the flat fee. I've been working with John and Chris, and they are going to keep a very close eye on this. But there's several things that we came up with in discussing all this, and that is, one, the over 20,000 gallon usage, they're dividing it by the unit instead of paying the over fee. That's got to stop. There's no resolution, there's nothing that the council has ever done to make that acceptable. They are taking a larger load into WPC than the single-family home, and they should be paying proportionately for it. I don't understand the 7% reduction in the summertime. I had to put a deduct meter in. At my cost, I call in, I'm supposed to call in every quarter, and the town gladly deducts the money off my sewer bill, and it makes a huge difference. So why we're just doing a 7% reduction, again, I don't think, is that a resolution that was written somewhere?
I believe John said it was. So we could bring that for your review. I mean, again, we can fine tune this, which is good once we set the rates, but we can look at that. John will get it out of archives, we'll send it to you, and then in your July meeting, you can look at that to say, is this something we want to continue or do we want to amend it?
Right. And then, as we go through, because this is fluid, as we go through the year, we may need to adjust, or we may see that, this is more than we anticipated because we're being safe, which I wish a lot of departments would do in the town, and we can adjust as we go. But next year we'll have a better handle on it. But I personally, because there is no resolution, I don't even know that I have to do this, but I want to make it clear with your support that we're not taking a water bill and dividing it by the units if it's one water bill, because those 4 units technically should have been paying 4 flat fees, or in Bigelow's case, 400 flat fees. They're not. And then they get the discount of the water on top, or the sewer on top of it. They're dumping a lot more sewer. There's cluster housing plan unit developments aren't supposed to tax the infrastructure, but the way it's been going, absolutely it taxes the infrastructure. So it's not written. I want it to stop immediately as of July 1st. No more credits or, dividing it by the units. That's not how it was written. There's nothing to address that. And I want you guys to agree. We didn't pass that resolution. Why is it happening in the town? It needs to stop. You look baffled, Bob.
No, I don't see, we would
It's
have
not
to
in
make
there.
an amendment.
No.
We would have to say something. That's why,
No, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's not.
Right.
You didn't pass a resolution, or Mike or Scott Copen, when we created this, saying that, okay, if you have 10 units, we're going to take the total usage and divide it by the number of units, which puts them below the 20,000 gallon, so they get the discounted rate. Nobody's done that, unless one of you can say.
And I'll elaborate, and the town attorney can correct me if I'm wrong. We have to enforce, all you're saying, and what I've indicated to John, and we'll start July 1st, enforce the ordinance. If there's been some shake hand or somebody, we're not doing that anymore. So we don't need, at this juncture, we'd have to amend the 7% off in the summer. But this is just enforcing, we always see this, it's mission creep. People want to be, we've seen it, right? But I want to be the nice guy. We'll give them a little break. And you're probably going to get calls from whatever apartments or multifamily units when they get their bill now saying this thing's got, and just refer them to John. Just say, nope, they're enforcing the ordinance. You got a break. You should count your chickens, or count the break you got, but it's over. And unless we come back and amend it, I can't have John doing that because it's a violation of the ordinance.
But it's a
But we
pretty
wanted to-
it's a
right.
pretty good
It's
change.
big, and we wanted to state it, 'cause
But
people-
it's not a change. It's going the way it's supposed to have been, the way it was written. But everybody up here, if you get a phone call, you need to be aware of what they're doing, because my first question is, where's the resolution saying to do that? There is none. So it shouldn't have been being done. Now, the 7% in the summertime, that would have to be done by resolution, because at some point, I think under Scott, that resolution was put in for people who have sprinklers and stuff like that. So if we decide to amend that, that'll have to be done by resolution. So we're all on the same page. Chris, we understand what you're doing and why you're doing it.
Okay.
Okay. So, any other questions? No. So I'll entertain a motion to amend the town manager's,
I think you have to read it first,
yeah,
right, Sheila?
you're
Then we
right,
can
you're
amend
right,
it?
you're right.
Yeah.
Okay. Enfield Water Pollution Control Authority, resolution number blank, resolution setting sewer use charge rate for 24-25 billing. Whereas in accordance with Chapter 103, Section 7-255 of the Connecticut General Statute, the Enfield Water Pollution Control Authority held a public hearing on June 26, 2024 at 6 p.m. and accepted comments on the proposed 24-25 sewer service fee schedule. Now therefore be it resolved, the Enfield Sewer Authority does hereby adopt the sewer service fee schedule attached hereto as attachment A. Date prepared by Town Manager's Office, date prepared June 26, 2024.
So moved.
Okay, motion's made and seconded. Now, I will entertain a motion to amend that resolution to the numbers that Chris just presented to us, eliminating the flat fee and raising the user fee, usage 12,000 gallons to 720, over 20,000 gallons to 1078, and 20,000 or greater than 20,000 gallons is 1078, same thing, and eliminating the flat user fee.
And when I'm looking at this, Mr. Mayor, too, not for tonight, you don't have to do it, but apparently if you look down at the top under the, not on that chart, Bob, but on what we're looking at, where we set the rates for under 20 and above, right below it, it says, so you've been doing this yearly, a seasonal adjustment is made by reducing the daily consumption of potable water for the months of June, July, and August by 7.5%. So that, you can eliminate that, I would believe. This is probably the resolution by which you do it. So not that you want to do it, but if you wanted to eliminate it, you could, because you've been passing that along every year, probably really kind of unknowing, not looking at it this specifically.
Right, well, let's entertain the first motion to amend it.
Motion to accept the amendment. Second. Yeah.
These are staying
No,
the same?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Motion's made,
yeah.
go ahead.
This
This is
John,
comments on the amendment.
just want to make sure, so now, what about the base quarterly charge per meter size? That'll have to be amended at some point, correct? Or is that just be eliminated from the attachment A?
That would be eliminated from attachment
That's what I thought, I
A.
just want to make sure for the record, thank you. Yeah.
Simplifying.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Hold on.
And that was my only question,
You're
thank
all
you.
set,
Yeah.
Mike? Go ahead, Commissioner Sakala.
I'm sorry, so we are eliminating the flat fee altogether, so this base quarterly charge down here. So if somebody has an 8-inch pipe,
Gone.
3,120 is gone. So it's not just the 39 we're getting rid of. We're getting rid of every single one of them.
The total that we collect through that is just under $1.3 million.
Okay.
I'm sorry, it was not, the total that we collect through that is about $2.7 million through the base quarterly charge. That's for all
2.7?
levels.
Yep,
2.7, yes.
okay.
We did not have any. Give me a few seconds here and I can tell you what we actually had as far as
But I think the basic question is what I alluded to earlier, is that by eliminating it, it's around 2.7, and it's a good question, Gina. It's all of that generated it, and John is comfortable with doubling the increases for under and over 20. It will make up for that, but it's a good question. All of a sudden, you say, well, that's another million or two, but John took that into account, but he can opine.
Including the user fee over 20,000 gallons, because that makes a big difference too. And that's probably why there was never a resolution, because it would never pass.
The largest meter that we had is a 3-inch meter. We had 8 of those.
So the increase in volumetric will make up for the waiver of these base fees, correct? You're estimating?
That's correct, yes.
Okay.
All set, Gina? Bob, did you have any questions?
No, my only question that I do have in regard to this was just answered in regard to all of these meter sizes. All right, that was my number one concern. The second one that I just want to state that what we're basically trying to tell people is use less water.
Correct.
You know, that's the bottom line, because if you look at the usage over 20,000 gallons, you know, whether it's 20, 25, or 30, even with a no fee, no flat, you're going to be an increase of, you know, whether it's, for example, over 20,000 or at 20,000, you know, you're going to have increases all the way around. You know, the more water you use, you're going to be getting charged more, you know, with no flat, you know, with no
Right.
fee.
But this is controllable by the consumer. So a landlord who has a 100-year-old multifamily home would benefit by upgrading his fixtures to, you know, 1.6-gallon flush toilets instead of the old 4-gallon flush. You know, it's time to upgrade, and he
Yeah.
could get below the 20,000 gallons and benefit huge by doing these upgrades.
Right. But with the no flat at 675, or is it 689?
So it's at 7.
720.
720, okay. So, once again, the lower your usage with the no flat, even at the $7 range, it's still going to be less than if you had that $39 charge. You know, I did the figures on 10, 15, 18, and 19. There's still a savings there. If you go back to the $3.60 plus the 39, you know, that would be the ideal, but we do need those additional funds to pay,
Correct.
you know, get to the 9.9.
Correct.
So I get that, I understand that, yeah,
All set?
yes.
Anyone else? Okay, this is a vote for the amendment, the first amendment to the resolution. All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? One opposed. Okay, now, do you guys want to amend the 7% reduction in the summertime? Because I know the town requires deduct meters, so I don't know why we're doing both. Councilman
Just a
Hendrickson.
question, we're already through June, we're heading for July and August, so when would our next meeting be
Whenever
for
we call it.
WPC? Because I'm,
Let me just, I could answer
no
this, Bob.
public hearing or anything on this?
We can only, and like you say, it's already too late to do it next year, but the issue would be, you'll have this every year, because we can only set the rates once. So if you do it now, it will be for July, August, and then next year it'll start for May, June, July, where if you wait and do it after, it'll be the same thing again. You'll miss half the summer. But that's up to you. You may want to think about this further or longer and do it next year. But in looking at it, I just realized this is the resolution that authorizes it. So if you wanted to change it or adjust it, maybe you don't have to eliminate it, do it in half and see what, that's up to you. But we didn't really, John, do you have a thought on that reduction or any thoughts?
The June rate, the June usage, like we will get reports from the water companies on what the usage was during the month of July. Those are billed at the expiring rates for so anybody who had usage was billed for usage in June would get the 7.5% reduction for this June, the one we're currently in, okay? That would be reduced on their July bill, or whenever it's actually mailed out. Because this applies to rates through usage starting July 1st and going forward.
Okay,
That
my
makes
only
sense.
other question would be, is this something that we should have the public hearing, like this, just the public, should they have a say in this, or is this something?
Well,
'cause
that wasn't part of Chris's proposed budget. That's what the public hearing is. Like when we pass the town budget, the public hearing's about his budget presented to us, then we make all the changes to it. So I guess the question, along, if you give me, the question would be is why do we have both cases? Why do we have certain circumstances people put deduct meters in and other circumstances they get a 7% reduction?
When this goes back to prior to my time as the director of finance, my only assumption is that when people first started, they started figuring out, all right, wait, I'm watering my yards, I'm doing all this stuff, and that stuff is not being treated by the Water Pollution Control Facility. It's a valid point. Other people then decided that they do more watering than the average person. So 7.5% was, I don't know how it was actually how they came up with that number. But some people decided that, yeah, well, if I actually monitor it, maybe I get more than a 7.5% deduction. And so they've done that. They right now have the option. It's either or, it's not both. So
Who qualifies? What is the qualifying factor for somebody to get the 7%? Can Councilman or Commissioner Ludwig just call in and say, I water my lawn a lot?
that's automatically applied.
To everybody?
Everybody, yes.
The whole town?
Yes.
I don't think so.
Because it's not going down the sewer.
Listen, but if I,
Go ahead. Or if Bob's done. Bob, you had the floor.
Thank you.
and again, I agree, look, I think we need, I have to admit, I always err on I'd rather have inform the public first. Would be a big change. I agree with going to the user fee only. This is one I think we need to have another meeting and allow the public to show up, and even if it's part of the resolution, in my opinion, again, I could be in the minority here, this is something I'd rather post, let people know there's gonna be a change, and let them come and comment, so then no one can say, I'd rather err on the side of, let's inform the public we're considering it, let's have another water pollution control meeting, and let them speak if they choose to, and then we can make a decision whether we want to eliminate it. And if it's not for this year, we already vote on it for next year, which again, for me, I think that'd be a better way of handling it. Allow people that we're making again, this is it's a one little paragraph in the resolution, but it's a pretty big paragraph in my opinion. Just me, again, this is one I'd rather take our time. Let's let the public know we're doing it, if that's what we decide we want to do, and then let them speak and say, we're crazy, we're not crazy, whatever. And then maybe, John, have some information, I don't know, if we have a rough estimate of how much it cost, if there's a cost to it, maybe there isn't. But if there is, maybe we could have that and say, hey, look, this is really how much I know it's an estimate, so I'm not, but hey, we estimate this is what it's costing. So then it gives everyone that total picture of what the decision we're making.
I'm sure that Computel, our billing company,
If we
would be
could,
able to.
I would like to have that, just me, but I'm only speaking from, I just would rather wait on this one.
Deputy Mayor Commissioner Pisner.
Do we know how many people actually call in for the deduct meter? I mean, how many people in the town actually take advantage of that?
It's automatic, so you're giving 7.5% to everybody.
I know that, but he's saying,
Some people do, actually.
but, you know, but Mayor Nelson said that he can call in and get his deduct meter.
Right, one or the other.
Right, you put a deduct meter. Do we have any idea how many people do that?
Yes. I don't have the number off the
Yeah,
top of
but
my
they-
head,
so-
but I could get that, yes. It all goes through my office, so, you know, the readings are called in, so they're deducted from the total amount of usage.
No, they're not getting the 7.5. No,
They only get one or the other.
yes. Yeah.
Okay.
You're going to have to look at the scope of it, because you have to look at your own neighborhood. You'd have to know on your own how many people water their lawn in the summer. Some people are religious, some people let it go to hay. And then likewise, again, it's the same issue of multifamily. You know, you go to Thompsonville, there's no lawns. They're not, you know, they're not watering.
Condo associations, same thing.
Many aren't. Bigelow, they have some area, I'm sure increases a little bit, but you're given a hell of a big waiver for a small percentage that are actually doing it. Again, I think, to Mike's point, you want people to know we have to have a robust discussion, but I think this is one that, again, was given, and if the amount, John would know, if you just look at the total billing for volumetric for, 3 months, John's going to know that's $2 million, and we're giving off 7%. It's a couple $100,000. That's what it's going to be.
But this is the problem. Who are we kidding? We're not giving it to anybody because we still need $9 million a year. So you're just paying a higher rate in the winter months to cover the 7% you're not getting charged in the summer months. I mean, I'm not a mathematician, but the end number is the same. No, regardless how you get there, like the flat fee or user fee, the end number is the same. So to let people believe we're giving you a 7% decrease during the summer, where is the 7% coming from? The money you pay in the winter. It's not like we're lowering.
Well, no, the bottom line is right. We need $9.9 million, right? And there's only so many ways we can come up with it. And you can, like you do offsets, but you're right. If we weren't doing that 7.5%, maybe we wouldn't be raising the rates across the board to 7.2 and 10. They might be a little lower. So you're right. We make people feel as though it's a safe, and overall, we have to raise that money, and we're trying to do it as equitably as possible to say, and that's one thing I think which is the glaring deficiency more than this little blip is you really can't have, 200 people living in a home that don't pay a quarterly, but everybody in 200 private homes does. That's not fair. And so, that you're eliminating the base for everybody. So that's one step in the direction of fairness. And the other is now saying, look, if you have 4 units or 6 units, over 20,000 gallons, you're paying. We have to be fair and across the board. So I think those are 2 good changes, a lot bigger than this, to Mike's point. So you've got to decide if you want to do it. If not, we just can't forget to notice it and have the public hearings for next summer if you want to do it then.
Right, but I just want to be clear, for people to think they're getting a 7% discount in the summer, and it's not costing them anything. The 7%'s coming from somebody. It's coming from your same pocket in the winter, because it's got to equal up at the end of the year. So, I mean, it's a misconception. You're giving people a false sense that they're actually saving money. And let's face it, I'm going to say 80% of the residents in town wouldn't even qualify for the 7% because they don't use excessive amounts of water. You could tell that by the water bills. So, I mean, this is just something to make those people, again, taking advantage of a situation that they shouldn't be entitled to, feel good. And, it's about pay for what you use. If you do have automatic sprinklers that come on every day or every other day, spend the $150, put a deduct meter in, And it'll pay for itself the first water bill. I guarantee it. I mean, I'm proof positive of it, because the 7% didn't do anything for my water bill. But when I got a $600 sewer bill and a $600 water bill, and I was able to reduce my sewer bill down to $180 because of that deduct meter, well, that is a huge savings. So I just think it's you're giving people a false sense that they're actually getting something that they're not getting, because it's not like we can reduce the $9 million. We need that end number. And it just complicates everything, adding all these little things in here. So that's where I stand. If nobody wants to make the motion to amend that, I'm okay with it too. We can move on. So Mike's motion, we never even vote. Did we vote
I
on your
didn't
amendment?
make a motion.
No, you made the motion for the flat fee,
Yeah, and someone seconded.
and we voted on that.
We voted, it was 7-1.
done with the rates.
Okay, so now, do you guys, if you guys want to leave it the way it's written, leave it the way it's written, and let people think they're getting a deal in the summer, and,
I'd be fine to take it off.
but would there be a second? I mean, it's up to you guys. It doesn't matter either way. Go ahead, Doug.
I kind of agree with Mike. I think we should bring this to the public. I mean, I'm not disagreeing with what's happening, but I think for us to do this tonight differently than what the original public hearing was about, I think we should have one. I really do think so.
Right, well, we just got rid of the flat fee and doubled the rate without the public speaking, so.
Yeah, that's true too, but
I mean, you want to talk about cutting big things.
Yeah.
That's a huge change to what the public hearing was about. So we can't, talk out of both sides of our mouth. We're either going to do this and do it right and clean this up so WPC is solvent and doesn't rely on the town of Enfield to bail it out. And that's how all the schools should be run this way too, the buildings, and we don't. And, in 10 years, the new plant Mike had put in, it's going to get run into the ground. Because we keep giving all these feel-good things away that there's nothing behind it. There's nothing behind that 7%. Because to give somebody something, you have to take it from somebody else. We still need 9-point-something million. So where's the 7% coming from? Up to you guys. We can move on right now, or?
I'm going to make a motion that we remove the seasonal adjustment from the water pollution control fee schedule.
Motion's made. Is there a second? Seeing none. Okay. So, did you say something, Gina, Bob? Oh. Okay. So, any other questions before we move on? Okay. I will enter roll call, and this is to approve the resolution as amended.
Commissioner Sakala.
Against?
Commissioner Crissati.
Against.
Commissioner Finger.
4.
Commissioner Hendrickson.
4.
Commissioner Ludwig.
4.
Commissioner Nasuda.
4.
Chair Nelson.
4.
Vice Chair Pisner.
4.
6 in favor, 2 against.
Thank you. Okay. So I will entertain a motion to adjourn from WPC. Motion made and seconded. All in favor? Okay, we can take a 5-minute recess because the next meeting starts at 7 o'clock. I'd like to call the special meeting of June 26, 2024 to order. Can we have roll call, please?
Counselor Sakala.
Here.
Counselor Casati has left the room. Counselor Finger.
Here.
Counselor Hendrickson.
Here.
Counselor Ludwig.
Here.
Counselor Mangini is absent. Counselor Nasuda.
Here.
Mayor Nelson.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Pisner.
Here.
Counselor Santinella is absent, and Counselor Ungary is absent. That's 7 members present, 4 absent.
Okay, thank you, Sheila. These were added. A couple of them are pretty pressing, and I thought it would warrant us discussing it tonight. If you don't want to move forward on these, one of them has to be done tonight. One of them, we're getting emails left and right from the senior residents in town. And then the auditor, I'm not sure when that's got to be done. So,
That has to be done by July 1st.
okay, so that also has to get pushed through. That's why these 3 were added. New business. The first one is a resolution authorizing the mayor of the town of Enfield to sign the Smart Start Grant signature page. This is a grant the Board of Education had contacted me about last week, and they asked me to sign this grant. Mayor Ludwig signed it when he was mayor. I believe it's a 4-year grant, and I don't sign anything without council approval. The deadline is Friday, so I just need an okay from you guys for me to be able to sign this grant for the Board of Education.
So moved.
Resolution authorizing the mayor of the town of Enfield to sign the Smart Start Grant signature page. Resolved that the mayor, Ken Nelson Jr., is authorized to sign the Smart Start Fiscal Year 25 Continuation Grant signature page for the Connecticut Office of Early Childhood. Date prepared 6/24/24, prepared by Town Manager's Office.
Second.
All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? None. Next is the resolution appointing an auditor for the fiscal year of 2024. Chapter 3, Section 11 of the Town Charter states the council shall annually designate an independent public accountant or firm to audit the books and accounts of the town of, as provided in the Connecticut General Statute. It also provides that an auditor may not serve for more than 3 consecutive years. In May, the Finance Department issued a request for proposals for the audit services for 3 years as follows, as allowed by the charter. Mercom LLP was the only bidder. Their bid was $105 for year 1, $109 for year 2, and $113 for year 3. Budget impact, there will be no budget impact for this item. Recommendation, the town council approve the following resolution. Now therefore be it resolved that the Enfield Town Council does hereby designate the audit firm Markham LLP to audit the town's accounts for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2024 in accordance with the above recommendation. Date prepared 6/24/2024, prepared by John A. Wilcox.
So moved.
Any questions? Councilman Finger.
Thank you, Mayor. So, real quickly, so we're asking the Board of Education to do a forensic audit, because they are part of the town accounts, I would assume, correct? So are they going to be doing the Board of Education one as that forensic audit, or is this just books itself? I mean, I don't know, that's why I'm asking.
John's coming up, but this does not, I don't believe, the forensic audit. That's separate. That'll have to either go out to bid or come before you when we choose. I think we should solicit somebody, find somebody who's a specialist in forensic audits of municipalities. But in this regard, this is just for our audit for the town. Correct, John?
That is correct. This is only for the regular annual financial audit of the town. It will include Board of Education accounts as well, but it's not specifically looking for whatever you would want to look at in a forensic audit.
Okay, so this is just separate, so if the Board of Education, I understand, did sign the agreement, then we have to pay for a forensic audit. So what's the difference between a forensic and, besides what we're looking specifically, wouldn't this one here also handle the specific things that we're looking for?
We could ask them to do that. I would imagine there would be an additional fee involved in, if you're looking for, if they're doing additional procedures, looking for whatever specific items we want to have them look for, that's what you normally detail in a forensic audit, I would think. That's
The reason being, Doug, this happened in May before we knew we were going to have one.
Okay.
And therefore we have to do it by July 1st, so we couldn't go back out and do it and ask them. But I think what John's saying is we'll talk to them about that once we know we're going to proceed on it, get a value. And I think that's a situation because they're doing ours. We could probably get a better price, and the council could look at it and probably come before you to waive the bid in the interest of the town because they're already doing it and they're going to give us a better rate.
That's
and
what
as
I
you can
was
see,
thinking, yeah.
there aren't too many players here. And council should know it's only one bidder, but the bids say lowest qualified bidder. So if this firm was not known to John or he had trepidation, we'd go out again. We don't have to take them because they're the only one. We have to take the lowest qualified. So we'll move forward with this. John will talk to them and we can ask them and we can get an idea what they would do the forensic audit and what the scope of it would be to try to get an advantage in the pricing.
Thank you. That's information I know about, and I appreciate it.
You're
Thank you.
welcome.
Almost said, thank you.
Councilman Hendrickson.
Just one question. I know we haven't used them for 3 years, obviously, but have we ever used this company before?
we have not.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Roll call.
Counselor Sakala.
4.
Counselor Crisati.
4.
Counselor Finger.
4.
Counselor Hendrickson.
4.
Counselor Ludwig.
4.
Counselor Nasuda.
4.
Mayor Nelson.
4.
Deputy Mayor Pisner.
4.
8 in favor, none against.
Moving on, this resolution is to modify the Senior Volunteer Tax Relief Program. On March 6, 2023, the Enfield Town Council adopted Resolution 6517, creating a Senior Volunteer Tax Relief Program. According to the guidelines developed for this program, seniors who perform 50 volunteer service hours during a calendar year will be eligible for a $400 credit on taxes due the following July 1st. The outline for the program for this resolution stated that the total credits earned by participants in the program shall not exceed $26,000 in a fiscal year on a first-come, first-served basis. However, we have received applications totaling approximately $77,000. Sufficient funds have been included in the fiscal year 25 budget to allow this credit for all. There will be no budget impact from this resolution. The recommendation is the Enfield Town Council to approve the following resolution. Now therefore be it resolved, the Enfield Town Council modifies the Senior Volunteer Tax Relief Program to allow the credit to be issued to all applicants. Date prepared, blank, and prepared by blank.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, if I might, and John can speak to this. I think it's interesting, actually, because normally we'd be asking for you to transfer that difference in amounts from the general fund to the contingency fund because it was unanticipated. John shared with me, while he was aware that the senior tax credit program was being implemented, people have different styles. He didn't do the actual resolutions. So he was unaware until recently that it was capped at 26. So John, in his inimitable wisdom and the way he does financing, at the time, he actually worked with the assessor to say, what do you think it might be? So while I think the former manager knew in her former town it was around 26,000, and that's what a lot of towns are, that's what she thought it would be, John thought it would be a higher number, thinking, well, this is how many might apply. So he actually put the higher number aside. So I like the way John does his accounting and the way he predicts. So if you want to look at one area where John was right on, this was it, because this money is there, and it will accommodate all of the people who applied for it without us having to dip into the rainy day fund. So
For next year.
Yes. Well, go ahead, John.
Yes, the volunteer hours were served during calendar year 2023, okay? And so they are now applied to the tax credit beginning on July 1st. So we had the applications in, so we knew how many applications were submitted, and I based my, my estimate on that number rather than the 26,000, so.
Deputy Mayor Pisner.
So for all the applicants, the 195 that applied for this current tax bill, they are going to get the $400?
If you authorize it.
Well, no, but, so you have the money for it, or you don't have the money for it? That's where my question lies.
When I calculated the revenue, the tax revenue budget, I created an allowance in there for sufficient funds to accommodate the $77,000. So it's built into the revenue budget. There's sufficient funds. If you don't authorize it, we will only give out the $26,000 on the first come, first served basis, and that's all we'll give out.
Councilman Hendrickson.
Sorry, I'm going back to years now. So you budgeted for the 24 year. That money is there. Is that what you're saying? Or the budget for next year's 25 budget, you have the 77,000 in?
For next year's 25 budget, I have the
Okay.
77, sufficient funds for that, yes.
Okay, but we didn't have it for this year. We just had a budget of 26,000.
No,
For 24.
this year's credit goes on next year's taxes.
Got it. Okay.
Right, yeah, it was only implemented last March, so now they're,
Yeah, but luckily,
last March, a year ago March.
it's one of those areas where, we were fortunate that he budgeted, it didn't know. Otherwise, he would have just done the 26 and we would have cut it off. Him not knowing and seeing the apps, he budgeted for it, so it was fortuitous for us. And going forward, you're setting the precedent. If you want everybody, or next year, when we look at it again, you say, you know what, we really want to limit it to 26. So that's what Sean's saying. The intent was 26. He has the money for the full amount of the people to pay them, and the money's there. So you might say, well, I don't think you're going to do this. No, we're only paying the 26. That's why we passed it. We know now that many more people, it's a good thing, volunteered and are eligible for it, and John put the money aside. So we're good if you want to appropriate it for everybody instead of just the first come, first serve for 26.
Privilege of the floor for a second, just to buttress what Chris and John said. If you decided to cut it off, the problem you're going to have is all of these people in reliance on this have already put in the 50 hours, and they've done their work for the community, and then you're going to be telling some of them, tough luck. I don't know how you're going to do that without violating their due process rights. Not that they're going to, run to federal court, but there is a certain fundamental fairness that I'm sure the council wants to take into consideration. So if you give it to everybody, it just seems like that's the legally most fair thing to do from town attorney's point of view.
Well, the resolution says different. The resolution says first come, first serve, up to $26,000. Everybody who did the volunteer time knew it was first come, first serve, $26,000 max, if they got the resolution and the terms of it. So I kind of disagree with that one, Tom.
If I might add, I think he said he's got enough money to pay everyone.
I understand
Is that
that.
accurate?
I understand that.
Yes. I'm just warning you in terms of what's going to happen next year if you're going to pursue this in any following years. You have to take into consideration that if you put this out to everyone and say that everyone's eligible, you can't pull the rug out from under them at the end. So I'm not telling you don't vote to vote against this now. I'm just issuing you a warning in terms of the fundamental fairness that you want to treat all your citizens with. But it doesn't have an impact on this motion tonight, the way I understand it anyway.
Go ahead. You got the
Okay,
floor.
so I still have the floor. So so the letter that went out to all the volunteers was just a warning in case we did not allocate these funds out. Is that correct?
that's correct, yes.
Correct. John, he came to me and said, look, We got a lot of people who think they're going to get this, and they may not. So we don't know what the council's going to do. So we had them send out the letter just giving them that warning, knowing that we had the meeting tonight and that you can address it and appropriately do it. But we didn't know how you'd move on it. And you might say what the mayor said, hey, no, we were clear when we passed it. It's 26 first come, first serve. Times might be different. We don't have that money aside. You'd have to say, now we got to take it out from the general fund. You might vote differently tonight. But the fact he did appropriate it. But I think the clearest thing going forward is, do you want to limit it so we can make it abundantly clear for the next, people doing volunteer work next year? Look at the total value of this now of 26 and 77, the total, that's it. We're not going to go beyond it. Otherwise, you are kind of setting a precedent to say, going forward, anybody who does it, we're going to give you the credit. So I think you should kind of look at both tonight. Yeah, we're going to do it, but then going forward, I'm not really sure what you're saying for subsequent years. So it's a good point the town attorney said. Are we going to leave it to everybody going forward, or are you going to put 100,000 for next year and we're not going to exceed it? So you got to consider that.
Okay, well, I'm grateful for the wording here, and John, great job of putting that money aside, because I think you're going to make some happy people, because I was getting the brunt of it at the food shelf for sure. They were hammering away at me. The one thing I would maybe look at amending is just go up to 400. So if we do get into trouble, then we can move the credit, the $400 credit. That's the only suggestion I would maybe suggest to the council here.
All right, just need a amendment.
It would be an amendment, so there's still discussion, so I would just put it up there.
Yeah, she's discussing.
You all set, Bob?
I'm good, thank you.
Mike?
Yeah, I would agree. I think we need to be up to whatever the credit is $400, just so in case we have more than 190 people next year. Again, that's the most they can get within the 77. I mean, we got to live within the budget that we're passing here, which is 77. If folks feel we need more, then they should amend the 77 to make it 100,000. But I'm saying that's why it should be up to 400,000. So you may get a little less if 300 people apply. It's 300 divided 77,000. That's the credit you get. And the only other thing I would say is, this is just, I reread it, is on the resolution at the bottom where it says, allow the credit to be issued to all applicants. I would add the word as a friendly amendment, all qualified applicants, the word qualified. So we're covering to what you're saying. I agree. I want folks who volunteer to get their money, but we also can't turn this into a fund that continue to, where next year, if we're in a similar situation but we don't have the money to fund it. I'd rather, like, if we're gonna tell people we're gonna give them a credit for doing work, that's great, but we also have to tell them there could be some flexibility, meaning in the amount of money you get, because we're only budgeting X amount of dollars. That's my only point. And so those are, for me, if we get there, would be two friendly amendments, up to $400, and then the word qualify before applicants, just so it's clear that you still have to qualify. You still have to, someone has to attest that someone did 50 hours. I'm sorry, it's 50 hours. I apologize if I got 50 hours. So there's an attestment. So it's not just someone saying, here it is, and then they don't get it. And you say it's all applicants. Well, it's all qualified, or maybe all attestable. Maybe is a better word. I'm just trying to make sure we're covered.
When Mayor Nelson read the resolution, I realized that, yes, that should have been in there as I did. So
I consider it a
I would
friendly
agree with
amendment.
that,
I'm not
yes.
trying to, I think it's just to cover ourselves to what you said, Chris. I agree. So I'll stop talking, but those would be two amendments when we get to the point that we'd be willing to offer, if people would consider it.
So my concern with the amendment is, how is that any different? Telling them, you volunteer for 50 hours, we might give you $400. We're not sure what we're going to give you. Versus, we're authorizing 26,000 first come, first served basis. It's still an unknown what you're going to get. And again, like I said, under WPC, for us to give away $100,000, we're charging people, other people, that $100,000. When you raise taxes 16% in 2 years and then give them a $400 tax break, it's just smoke and mirrors. Your taxes still went up $800. So, I mean, let's call it what it is. We didn't raise taxes this year. Everybody got a tax break across the board in this town. And then we went and gave the Board of Education $5.6 million. That money's got to come from somewhere. And we want to give farmers a tax break, these people a tax break. We don't want to stick to the terms that we voted on. So where does this stop? Because somebody's paying the taxes. This is smoke and mirrors. So I support taking care of the seniors. And that's why I didn't vote to raise the taxes this year. That's why I voted no on giving away $5.6 million with no accountability for it. So, again, the resolution was clear. It was a great program. It was super successful. I think you guys, it was absolutely successful. But you made it very clear. Up to $26,000. First come, first served basis. If people are upset about that, I mean, and I'm hearing rumors that people came in, banged out the 50 hours in the first month, and never saw them again. You know, there's people on that list. I can't believe they're calling themselves volunteers. You know, we sit up here and get paid nothing. Well, 10 of us do. Because one of them is saying it's a volunteer position and applied. And I have a problem with that. They should have abstained from the votes.
A counselor?
Yes. Okay, and that's on our side. So I call it like I see it. When it's wrong, it's wrong. And planning and zoning members, this and that, they've never had this opportunity. People just throw it on there and jumped on the bandwagon. Why isn't there some sort of financial restriction on this? There's people on that list, they don't need a $400 tax credit. But the single person who's barely getting by now can't get on here because people who are retired making $150,000 a year jumped on it before they did. It's just not right. The whole thing's not right. So that's where I stand on it. I stand by the original resolution, $26,000, first come, first served basis. If we want to make changes moving forward for next year, because this is not for next year, this is for this year, correct?
That's correct, yes.
Right, so we have no resolution for next year.
I believe the resolution, the original resolution that was adopted called for the program to be evaluated by the council.
At the end of the year.
Right, so that was.
Right.
So we should be reviewing it now. I mean, because we already know the people who have volunteered. Okay, we know what the number of submissions were. The original resolution also called for the administration to be worked out between the assessor and the senior center director. What actually happened was the town manager and a committee of there were some residents of town met and just worked out the parameters of who would qualify. So in relation to what qualified, that was basically the list that was on top of the application, which was also attached to your packet. Okay, those were the qualified. So I've already gotten some calls from a couple of those committee members that want to talk about what changes can be implemented for next year. If council would like me to, we could put income limits in there. There's all kinds of things that we could do to limit who is eligible for this credit.
Well, I think this goes with kind of, and I don't want to speak for you, Mike, but kind of what you're saying. Right now, it's so open-ended. Right. It could be $3 million with no cap. And you know, we've all seen the list. I saw people shaking their heads of who applied, and you know, that's really not what the intent was. This was to help people out. And, you know, this isn't go in, bang out 50 hours, never see them again, and then the person who volunteers at the food shelf every week for the last 50 years, she didn't get in time, or he didn't get in time, and now they can't apply for it. It's not right. And
Mr. Mayor, may I just opine? If you look at the paragraph A, and D says they'll determine all the guidelines, but A specifically says governmental. So, you know, I think not having been here, I'm a little surprised by that. I think you are all volunteers. I think all the members of Planning and Zoning, ZBA, Inland Wetlands. But I think there's an inherent expectation that that's different than a volunteer for the nonprofits, the soup kitchen. So I don't know if you all envisioned that you now would all be eligible for this, I would not like to see this done this way. I think we talk about being open and transparent. If we believe today to attract people, because we know how difficult it is to get people to serve on boards and commissions, including the council, many other communities have a stipend. I would much rather be upfront with the residents and say, we're going to look at a stipend and we have the charter revision coming, and I think it's appropriate for the time people put in today that we're going to look at stipends. We want to get qualified people for council, and we're going to give this much, and we're going to get. But I didn't think you probably would have wanted to do it this way.
No, Chris,
I think the public would be shocked,
to me,
and I didn't know this.
It's a charter violation.
Well,
because you're benefiting financially from a decision you're making up here.
This is another, John didn't know all the specifics of it. I talked to the town attorney's office, they didn't. This is kind of one of those things, I think it was well-intended, but again, I wouldn't deign to write these. You know how I operate. I bring in John, I bring in the experts, I bring in the town attorney. I'm not criticizing it, but I don't think this was meant to be a let's pay planning and zoning and board commission members and the town council money now for them volunteering. I think that people would be opposed to it. I think they would be shocked by it. I think going forward you should make the amendment that it should not involve governmental. This is for real volunteerism, and I think you do a disservice to those that you mention that you see Bob at the soup kitchen. I know how much volunteering you do, Gina. It's 10 times this minimum. Well, no, but do you know what I'm saying? And I'm not opposed, but I think it should be done. Boy, I get in trouble for trying to get some credit, but
I appreciate
you know what I'm
because
saying.
I do volunteer
I'm a little shocked by that, and I don't know that that was the intent, but I don't think we should be doing that. I don't know that you can amend it for now. Those who did it, they're eligible, but going forward, it does say you'll look at this and review it. I think you should take that out, and that should go to charter revision to say, what can we do to attract good people and give them a stipend for all the time? Their gas now, the money, not having, a lot of these people, they're displaced for dinner. We should do something, and I'm a big proponent. I'm a short timer. I don't mind saying to the public that our public officials and the people who volunteer for government should just get a stipend, but I don't think this is the way to do it, personally.
Correct. And I think the council members should be not qualified for it and removed.
Clarify this moving forward for next
Right. So this, again, I want to clarify, this amendment, this motion to modify is for this current year, the one that Bob and we all voted on. This is not next year's. So we can have those meetings with the seniors, because I know a lot of the seniors also say, why aren't there income guidelines? So I'm okay dealing with this today, but not the one in the future for next year, because it's way too open-ended. Gina.
Thank you. So I don't have a problem separating the two, that we deal with this year's applicants and then talk about amendments to the original, but I don't think that that's how this resolution reads, personally. It says, the Enfield Town Council modifies the senior volunteer tax relief program to allow the credit to be issued to all friendly amendment qualified applicants. So I think that if that's what you want to do, and we're dealing with just the $77,000 for all of the applicants this year, there needs to be amendment to this language that says something to the effect of modifies the senior volunteer tax relief program for fiscal year, or that's currently in place. Somebody can give me language exactly, because I think that's what you're trying to do, Ken, is only deal with this year. And if that's what you want to do, fine, but that's not how this resolution reads. So I guess I would be looking, if that's what you want to do, there needs to be an amendment to this language. And if it's for fiscal year '25 only, then that would be the amendment that I would offer, because that's what you want to do.
Participants in '24 for the '25 tax credit.
Correct. That's what you're looking to do. You're
Correct.
looking to do,
Yes.
give everybody their tax credit this year, and then the conversations happen later about what's going to happen next year.
Correct.
And what I suggest, whatever appropriate subcommittee, we should refer it and let them start to talk about it and come up with these amendments. I don't know, you would know better, government or whomever, but we could work on that, and then when we come back in September, be ready to discuss it and then implement going forward.
Right, but we should also have give the public some sort of, yes, there's going to be one, so they can start putting their hours in instead of wait until September. Are you all set?
Right. So I guess I would say then my amendment, what I would offer an amendment unless we're still discussing the resolution as a whole, and then I can wait.
Yeah.
All right, I'll wait.
So I like what you said, Gina, but I want to let everybody speak because there may be more changes. Bob?
Yeah, I think the intent of well, first of all, I don't think anybody realized that we'd get 190-something applicants here.
But that's
All
good.
right, which is great. When we started this particular group, and I have to give the committee kudos for all the work that they've done, and John for your foresight in allocating extra monies, because we really didn't know how many we were going to be getting. In the research that was done, it was the towns that have this particular program average between 50 to 60. So that was a figure that was thrown out. Did we think that we'd get 193? Absolutely not. The nice thing about it is, in paragraph D, we can review and evaluate the program after this date of approval. And I think this is what we're going to be doing tonight, all right? We'll hopefully be able to take care of the onslaught that we got. Do I totally agree with some of these applications that came in? Probably not. But once again, this is something that we can take a look at. The nonprofit, the people who volunteer at the nonprofits, those people go out there, they work really hard in everything that they do. This was the intent and purpose, not for some of these other ones that did come in. We didn't look at income due to the fact of the circuit breaker program, you have the veterans program, you have all these other programs that you get tax relief on. So, but I am good at looking at and moving forward for next year to put more of to have different sets of parameters for this particular program, because it turned out to be a popular program. I don't want it to turn into where, the first 26, to be honest with you, or the first 65 people, the first 50 people that came, and say, well, they were the first ones, and sorry for the rest of you. So, John, once again, thank you for that foresight. I am in agreement to make amendments moving forward for this particular program, because things have to be changed here a little, or quite a bit. But overall, we did not think, and I'm sure people on the committee didn't think that we'd get that many people coming in, especially for the initial season. Because I'm still shocked at it myself.
Yeah, and I want to be clear. I'm not trying to disparage all the good folks like yourselves that put in all the time. You are volunteers, and probably the $400 is the minimal. I just don't think this is the vehicle. If everybody didn't anticipate it and understand what it would be used for, I think even if you wanted to do it going forward, as long as you clearly tell the public, if you're, and you know what, that may be, we're trying to give a lot of towns to attract police officers or EMS, we're giving signing bonuses, we just can't get people. So I'm not opposed, but going forward, we should just discuss it to say, look, if you want to come to planning and zoning, you're going to put in hundreds of hours, but 50 we're going to give you credit for, or to the council. As long as we do it eyes wide open and the public knows and it doesn't look as though we did it for that reason. Because what could have happened, Bob, you're right. What if all the first people that came were those people and the people at the soup kitchen, they didn't get it? I think you'd have an insurrection. So I'm not saying I'm opposed to, but let's look at it and implement it and make it clear and actually list it so it's not like we're doing it in the dead of night. And I don't think that was the intent. And I think people who do serve like you, I am absolutely in favor of some kind of recognition and stipend. There's just, in this day and age, you want good people, and they have to have a little incentive. They take a lot of time out of their busy lives to do this, and that's a small amount to give them. So I don't want those at home saying that, MF, you're getting paid, Mr. Bromson, to sit there, and we go and spend all these hours and we're not, who are you? So I'm not disparaging them. I can just tell from the conversation, this wasn't an anticipated group that you were, I don't think, that you wanted, but going forward, we can look at it. And if you want to do it, but let's list it clearly.
Right.
Yeah, just one more thing, and then I'll be quiet on it. But I would like to see the senior tax people that are on that committee, finance, Cindy Guerreri, social service director, because she was really big within that, and and us to have some input moving forward, to have different sets of parameter for next year's program.
What committee are you referring to, Bob?
The Senior Tax Relief Committee, there's 5, matter of fact, George is on it. There's a committee that, along with Mary Keller, they went through all the applications.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
Yeah.
Deputy Mayor Pisner.
So, being the liaison on the Commission on Aging, I'm a little bit aware of this, but I was never part of putting it together. But there were 2 people that were on it that did email me, and I know they are going to be sitting with John Wilcox shortly in July. They both have great ideas moving forward on how we can place some guidelines. I was vocal at the Commission on Aging meetings and said that I thought they needed more guidelines on this. I'm not going to lie, I said it at meetings, Bob, that this was way too open-ended, that I thought it was going to have this kind of an influx. So I'm glad, John, that you looked into that and you realized it too. I do know how many people in this town volunteer. We are very fortunate to have the amount of people that we have, but there does have to be guidelines. And things have to be spelled out. So I think moving forward, I know Marlene and Dave are going to sit with you, John. I'm sure there's other people. George, you're on it now. I know Mike's sitting in the audience. He's on it. And I think together and these are seniors that are volunteers. So I think they can put their heads together and brainstorm. But I, too, don't want to see this program go away. I want to see it continue. And if we have to top it, but I do agree, too, that I think moving forward, it should be an up to amount. So if we get another overwhelming, we have to set an amount. It cannot be an open-ended amount, and it can be up to. And that way, if it does have to be changed a little bit, people are aware of that going into it. So that's my thoughts on it.
Thank you. Councilman Ludwig.
Thank you, John. Look, another, it's funny, you think we're clear. I thought this was actually going forward. I apologize for my I didn't realize this was for current year. I thought this was for what we were doing going forward, so I apologize to you if I made 2 amendments that, so I didn't realize this was for current year.
Well, my original intent was going forward. If that's
Okay.
not, if that
Okay.
was not
So I
your.
apologize if I missed.
Yep,
That's my.
I thought the same thing, Mike, so you're not allowed.
So, I think the mayor I would love that the taxation part of it, I agree with them. We're all paying for it in some way, or there's no free, it's all taxpayer money. I don't disagree with that at all. But I hate to ask this question because I really don't want to get into it, but to what was brought up, if we allocate the money and we approve for certain tax credits for individuals, that I'm pretty sure the charter doesn't allow us to do it. Or if we vote for the additional money for everyone who's applied, do we violate the charter?
Are you talking in regard to individuals who have applied who might not?
Right.
Well, I think if you add the language now, the qualified, right? We look to the town attorney, he'll look at the charter. If the charter says that you in this role are not eligible because then you're not qualified and you won't get it. I defer to him.
No, that's
Yeah, but that's
not
not
what he's
right.
saying.
Oh,
No.
what do you?
But I'm saying, so that's on a go for. I can't change the term. So for this as we speak today.
Yeah.
So I can't change the terms of the resolution when people have already served their.
Yes, I think the town attorney will say, if to pay them violates the charter, then that
Okay.
trumps your resolution.
I'm sorry.
The charter trumps the resolution. The state constitution trumps the charter, and the federal constitution trumps it all.
I agree.
So I will defer to the town attorney, but if we've made people that have applied and they're not eligible under the charter, we can't compound it
I want to
by.
make sure, right.
And I defer to Tom. Tom?
I couldn't have said it better. The other thing I did want to bring out, though, is that this is for this year, the people that put in their time. The applications had to be in by February 1st of this year.
Yep.
And so it's only for the July 1st, 2024 tax bill. So your resolution is fine the way it is written, even though it says first come, first served, because he's got the 77,000 in there to take care of it. My warning was simply, when you look at the application, which is attached to this in your packet, it doesn't say anything about first come, first served.
I know, I agree.
And that's a problem.
Right,
And the secondly, then if you do have this wave of everybody that's a volunteer puts in for it, you're going to be completely overwhelmed. So
Right.
I think there's a lot of work that's got to be done on it. And I would, even though our office is swamped with things to do, I think we should be involved in when you're reviewing, we would be happy to review the Town of Enfield Senior Voucher Tax Credit application to make sure it conforms with the intention of what you want to
It also
do.
got to conform with the charter. So I'm saying if we agree
Yeah.
to allocate the
Yeah.
full 77,000, which is
Yeah.
what we're doing here, I want to make sure
Yes.
I'm understanding what I'm voting for. So if I'm going to vote for the 77,000 for current, again, fiscal year, where the folks who volunteered.
Qualified applicants.
But that's my only question. I hate to say it, I'm trying to think like a lawyer. The resolution doesn't have the word qualified. Right? Since we're making, I just want to make, since we're making an amendment, or we're amending the resolution to cover the 77, that allows us to make the amendment to qualify. I just want to make sure I'm following the right, procedural steps. And if the answer is yes, that I can add the word qualified. So, again, I'm a little uncomfortable that we may be paying folks that, quite frankly, puts us in a little bit of issue with whether they volunteer or not. I'm not questioning that. But then the charter's clear, I think.
As Chris said, the charter trumps it. The
So I
law
can
is
make
the law.
We can make the amendment to qualified. And
Correct.
procedurally, we're correct.
Yes.
Thank you. Appreciate it. And I'll stop at it. When we get to the amendment, the word qualified has to be to all qualified applicants.
Well, that's to make it super safe, but
I think we have
will,
to. I think
I
we
will
have
tell you, even if it wasn't in, it's always implied with everything you do, you want to comply with the law, comply with the charter, and so on. So, but to make it more specific, to make you feel better and so on, and make it clearer, that's fine. That's even better.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
I apologize, thank you.
Where does it say on the form where you volunteered? And the person applying is the one who attests that they put in the 50 hours. We have Shaker Pines Lake Association as putting time in for this. How come the food shelf doesn't have to sign off on this, that Mike Ludwig did 50 hours there?
Actually, I think there is a clause on the application.
Where?
Oh, I'm sorry.
No. For them to be approved, they get a letterhead, like from the food shelf, saying that they have volunteered. So everybody has specific paperwork that's handed in with their application to say that they have been approved by somebody, yeah.
So there's more than just
Yeah.
this?
There's,
All right, well, that makes a big
yeah,
difference.
Yeah, it's just not this.
It says see the reverse side.
Yeah, it's
It
supposed
does
to
say
be
see
on-
the reverse side.
Oh,
Yeah.
Right,
But there
I-
is
there-
none, but it does say on here
Yeah,
that it has
there's
to be
another sheet that.
verified.
Okay, all right, that clears up a
The
lot.
head, the head of the nonprofit has to sign off to say this person has volunteered, yes.
Okay,
Yeah, it also says the volunteer coordinator or other designee at the entity where you volunteer must verify the stated hours have been worked. See reverse side. So it is actually on there.
Yes.
So your take, Tom, is the fact that the application does not say on a first come, first served basis. That's what you're saying?
Well, I think if that's what your intent is, people should be told that, but not even just when they're filling out the application, because they've already put in the hours. I think once they're told about the program, if it was going to be first come, first served and limited, they should be told that then, before they put in the hours. Now, if their heart is pure, they're going to put in the hours anyway. But still, what's going on is people, to qualify for right now, they must have put their time in last year during 2023. They filed their application on February 1st or before 2024, and then it's evaluated. Fortunately, there's enough money here so that it's not just first come, first serve. Because of John's good work here, there's sufficient money to take care of it.
Because of his ignorance that it was limited at 26,000. I'd give John credit, but his head's getting a little too big. He didn't know when he put the money aside based on the application, so let's not make him a savant. But what I'd like to say to you, what I'd like to know, if you folks are telling me that people working for our boards and commissions and even the council are applying, I'd like to know in regard to them, when this says that the volunteer coordinator or other designee at that entity where you must verify that the stated hours have been worked. Nobody's come to me to ask, who's going to speak for a counselor? So if it's in there.
The town manager's office.
Huh?
It says right on there, the town manager's office.
Well, I'm the town manager, and I didn't approve anything for anybody. So I think it's like anything else. The good, no good deed goes unpunished. The road to hell is paved with good intentions. This thing leaks like a sieve. It's a good idea. It's wonderful. I don't think you should overthink it. What you need to do tonight is say we're authorizing for last time because we didn't know what the hell we were doing, basically. It was good intent. Now going for, and it's going to be for last time. This is the amount. The folks who applied and they've been qualified, we're going to pay it. We're going to have this subcommittee start meeting. We're going to close up the loopholes and we're going to straighten it out moving forward. Because I don't think we can solve it here tonight. That's not the intent. We got it on the agenda because we knew there were people who were very disappointed they weren't getting it. We wanted to bring it to your attention. So let's solve it for this year, and we'll solve next year another day.
Mine, and let's move on.
So I'll make an amendment in the last sentence between the words issued, between the word all and applicants qualified. It would be add the word qualified to the last sentence.
So moved?
Second.
Second.
No. So,
I'm so moved.
Second.
motion's made and seconded. All in favor of Mike's amendment? It's unanimous. Gina?
Do we have to vote on that amendment first?
We just did.
Oh, I'm
All in
sorry,
favor.
yes. So I would like to offer an amendment to the resolution that states the Enfield Town Council modifies the senior volunteer tax relief program for volunteer hours in the fiscal year '24 that are paid in fiscal year '25
Only.
only, to allow the credit to be issued to all qualified applicants. Is that language correct?
The hours were worked in calendar year '23.
Okay, so my amendment would be for hours worked by volunteers in calendar year '23 to be paid in fiscal year '25's budget.
That's correct, yes.
Okay. I'm sure Sheila will make that a lot more eloquent than what I just said.
I think you did.
It's a lot of numbers.
And I second that.
I'll second the amendment.
Yeah.
Neither one of you know what you're seconding, because
So moved, second.
Sheila making it nice.
So moved, second. Okay. We're good.
Do you want to make sure, do you want to reread it? I mean, that's fine, we reread for the record.
My quick notes, modifying it, just read, the Enfield Town Council modifies the senior volunteer tax relief program for volunteer hours worked in calendar year '23 to be paid in fiscal year '25 only.
Wow, spot on.
Exactly
Yeah.
what I said. I think it actually might be.
All in favor now.
All in favor?
right, but I'm not sure, do we want to suspend this until we straighten out all these problems?
But tonight, no, we have to do this one tonight, and then we can straighten the other problems out.
All right, motion to approve the amendment.
Excuse
to
me,
the
Mr. Mayor, I didn't catch a vote on Counselor Sakala's
That's
amendment.
what I'm doing.
Oh, sorry.
Yes. Motion to approve the second amendment to the contract, to the resolution. All in favor? It's unanimous. Okay, any questions or comments on the motion with the two amendments? Seeing none, all in favor? Or roll call, I'm sorry.
Counselor Sakala?
4.
Counselor Crisati?
4.
Counselor Finger?
4.
Counselor Hendrickson?
4.
Counselor Ludwig?
4.
Counselor Nasuda?
4.
Mayor Nelson?
For,
Deputy Mayor Pisner?
4.
It's 8 members in favor, none against.
motion to adjourn.
Motion. Second.
Thank you, everyone, and have a great summer. I'll see you July 15th. Hopefully, it's quick, and we got August off. Thank you.